Hi everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new. I'm Rick Zanotti, and I'm joined today by my good friend from just the other side of the pond. She's outside of London. It's Lesley Price, coming to us from learnappeal.org.uk. It's a great charity. Please check them out. And how you doing today, Lesley?
I'm doing good, thank you. Doing good. Delighted to have the guest that we've got on today.
Yeah, somebody you're actually related to.
Yeah, I'm his auntie.
Yes, and also Eric Kimori, who will be our guest today. He's helping us too with some work. So we're sharing Eric right now. And in studio we've got Harold Muliati. He's running the video switcher and the mixer. Here we go.
This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation. Digital learning development, media development, corporate video, management consulting, and more. Visit us at www.relate.com. Thanks.
And we are back, and in that center position of power, that's what we call it. You didn't know that, Eric, but this is our position of power. We have Eric Kimori coming to us from Kenya in Africa. I think you are the very first person, maybe not the first from Africa, but the very first from Kenya that we've had on the show. How are you doing today, Eric?
I'm doing very well, Rick. Thank you so much for inviting me to the show.
Oh, our pleasure.
It's a pleasure. It's a big pleasure also to share the show with my auntie from UK.
It's not. We should say that we're not blood related. But it's a kind of thing in both Africa and in Scotland in particular. When you become close to someone, they then become like family. And so Eric is like a nephew to me, and I am like an auntie. And he talks about my children as being his brother and sister, and my children talk about him the same way. So it's we are family through choice, not
That's
because we have to be.
Now tell us, Lesley, how did you meet Eric?
Eric and I, believe it or not, met through Twitter. We met through a mutual friend through Twitter when I was just starting up Learn Appeal. And obviously we wanted to make sure that the work we were going to be doing with Learn Appeal was going to be carried out by a professional organization. So Eric is the CEO, founder of Complitkenya. So Eric and I started chatting together, and we talked about what we were doing. And then we found out we'd an awful lot in common. And so it then became that Eric then started doing stuff with us with Learn Appeal. And then 18 months ago, when you were over in the UK, Rick, because Eric came over to the UK, was flown over by the organisers of the event. And Eric spent time in the UK to meet all the people that are supporting us, including yourself and your dear wife, Lesley, who had flown over from California. So it just goes to show that if you've got a common goal and if you've got something that you all believe in, even though you may not be blood related, you may not have worked together for tens of 15s of years, if you actually all believe in the same thing and all want the same outcome, we can all help each other. And that's how you met Eric, and that's how you and Lesley and I met together in person.
Right, and I met you originally on Twitter as well.
Yep.
Oh,
So
wow.
I don't even like Twitter, but it's been a source of friendship. I've made quite a few friends from Twitter, and some of them, I think I've been on Twitter probably 12 years or something like that. And I've met a lot of friends which are still friends. So it's just fun that you can actually meet people long distance like that. And I did meet Eric in person as well. And he and I were just chatting there. We've been, ever since we met about, like you said, about over a year and a half ago, we've kept in touch. Not all the time, but as much as we can, or, we remember each other and start talking a bit. And Eric, as all of us, have had some issues with COVID because it cut a lot of jobs and it slowed everything down. And he was telling us that one of his main jobs, I guess he was laid off or stopped because of COVID. They couldn't do a lot of the work. And we happen to have some work. And I said, hey, do you want to work with us a bit? So he's been helping us now. Doing things. His English is excellent, and as a result, we can use Eric to help us with proofing and writing and other things. So it's been a pleasure working with him on that too, and learning how to pay someone in Kenya. It's not that hard, actually. It's pretty easy, and it's been fun. So,
but Eric, I'll let him talk in a minute, but. For me to blow his trumpet, Eric is actually also a journalist. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised that he's actually doing proofreading, that kind of thing mm-hmm. with you, because by profession, by trade, Eric is a journalist, and a qualified journalist, not just somebody who says, I think I'd like to be a journalist.
Right. Now, Eric, we know you're a journalist. You actually went to school for that, right?
That's true.
Yeah. But also...
Yeah, I also worked as a journalist for quite some time with one of Kenya's leading broadcasters here. It's called Kenya Broadcasting Corporation.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah.
And you also do a lot of... Let's show Eric's website. On your website, it looks like you do a lot of seminars and you teach and help the community in different ways with education and everything else. What got you into the educational part of things?
Yeah, well, after getting out of college, studying journalism and working journalism a little bit, I got a job and worked with the Kenya Red Cross for time, and that is where the passion for community actually was born. Working with communities, working with disadvantaged communities, people that are struggling with various social issues, education, health, agriculture, business, whatever it is. That was where my passion for community was born, and I got a lot of attachment into helping my community, working directly with communities as a development worker. And that is where I observed a lot of gaps in community. As a journalist, a lot of what we do is sharing information, empowering people, and passing out knowledge and etc. And so that is how I got to marry my passion for journalism and passion for community in terms of empowering our communities to be able to access information, access knowledge. In 2013, I read a report from the then Communication Authority of Kenya, and that report got me off guard. It got me thinking, because that report indicated that only 2% of Kenyans had access to the internet, or
2%? Only 2%?
Only 2%. Yes. Yes. By then, in 2013, it has improved a little bit now, but in 2013 it was 2%. In my county, I could not even think it was 2%. Maybe it was much lower, but 2% was the national, statistics. So those are the things that blew my mind, so to speak, and I thought, hey, let me be a solution to this problem.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so even in Nairobi, which is a pretty large city, the internet was still not that existent.
Absolutely. In 2013, people had very little access to the internet, and Nairobi is it's the home to the largest slum in Africa. It's called Kibera, and so so many parts of Nairobi are informal settlements where people actually live below the poverty line. Yeah.
It's a lot of it, Rick. A lot of it has to do with money.
Right.
If you have money,
Yes.
you've got purchasing power. If you've got purchasing power, you can afford the internet.
Right.
If you don't have money, if you're low income, you don't have the access because the internet is so expensive. I don't know what it's like in the States, but it's even the case in the UK. If you're in an area of countryside where there's not many people, or even if there are people, but these people don't have spending power, you don't get high quality, cheap internet. You just don't get it. And that's the problem they have in Kenya, is that although it potentially could be available, because people simply can't afford it.
And it's also building the infrastructure when they can't afford it. So that's part of the problem.
Yeah, they can't
now,
afford it.
Over here, it's fairly common that everybody has internet, different levels. Not everybody has good quality internet, but if you have the money, you can buy any kind of internet. Harold's off camera, but Harold, have you heard much about our internet lack here, or?
Well, I would say we've got pretty, as far as just any kind of access to the internet, I think we're pretty universal in terms of you can at least go places and tap into Wi-Fi and that sort of thing if you need to, even if you don't have your own internet connection.
Right. Yeah, because for example here, if you don't have your internet at home or good internet, people go to Starbucks or they go to restaurants or they go to coffee shops which offer free internet usually, and that way they have access. I know a lot of people go to work at Starbucks and do their programming or do whatever they do at the coffee shop versus working from home. So it just depends. It becomes sort of a social thing to go.
Yeah, but imagine you don't have Starbucks in the middle of a desert.
No, you
don't
no.
have Starbucks in the middle of a rural area.
Yeah. So,
we are talking about an economy. Kenya's GDP is predominantly agricultural.
Right.
We are talking about a country where about 85% of the population are actually employed in the agricultural or in the informal sector, where people are doing small scale artisan, the people in the farm. So these are people who will naturally, ideally, do not have access to the coffee shops that we are talking about.
Right. Is it sugarcane that's the big export?
Nah, tea and coffee.
Tea and coffee. Interesting.
Sugarcane is South Africa.
It's South Africa. I read somewhere. I thought Kenya had sugarcane, but I may have read something else.
Nah, I'm not that much. There is, yes, but
tea and coffee. Coffee beans.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is a big one. A lot of people. Boy, do people drink coffee and tea? So, but still. What do you see as the forecast? Because I was reading some articles that Nairobi, for example, is really modernizing and it's coming up quickly. You live about 5-6 hours from Nairobi? By bus.
6 hours from Nairobi.
And that's a bus. That's a bus
by
ride.
By bus is 6 hours. Yes.
6 hours. Now, what's the name of the village? What's the name of your village? Is it?
Nyamira.
Yeah, that's a nice name. I like that.
Nyamira.
Yeah, Nyamira.
Nyamira, yes.
Kissy.
Nyamira.
Kissy?
Even Kissy is the closest bigger town.
Yeah.
Kissy.
Yeah. it's relatively bigger and busy, and infrastructure wise, it's also a little bit more advanced
Okay.
as compared to Nyamira. Yeah.
Okay. How far is that from you?
Nyamira is, you imagine some of the big ranges in Wyoming or Arizona or some
Yeah.
of these big plains,
Yeah.
some of these big areas. That's the kind of area that Eric lives in.
So it's
and these
pretty flat?
areas have little villages
Uh-huh.
where the people live together and they work on the land.
Okay. And you're close to the
Yep.
equator too.
Yes, that's true.
So
The
you have
equator is
it's
in Nakuru,
which is why you're pretty temperate. Because he was telling us that right
Yes.
now it's probably his winter when it's our summer, and but it's
Yeah.
very temperate.
something close to.
Yeah, the closer you are to the equator, the more temperate it gets, and so that's kind of interesting. So getting back to what we do here, as far as education and training, you and Lesley met on Twitter. She's working with LearnAppeal. You were also helping implement LearnAppeal in Kenya.
He
Two
still
of the
is.
test and still is. Two of the
Yeah, that's
test regions. One was your village, I think, and another village is
Yes.
also coming up.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got
well-
two. I'll let Eric explain them, but we've got two, and we had hoped for more. We were planning. We were all ready and planning for more, and then COVID.
Yep.
Too bad. Too bad. Well, COVID has been a disruption, but just before we look at COVID and maybe the future post-COVID, is that we have been piloting LearnAppeal's program in Kenya, a fantastic solution of offering e-learning to technology-based learning to people that were disconnected. Develop e-learning content and courses behind the scenes, upload this content into the e-learning capsule that's able to project a signal that can be accessed virtually by a wide range of technology gadgets, mobile phones, tablets, etc. And LearnAppeal was gracious enough to give us e-learning capsules and tablets so that the the local people who do not have access to their own smartphones can use their tablets in our e-learning community centers, so that we do not subject people who are already disadvantaged to more disadvantages. So we wanted to make accessibility a lot more to the people. And so we've been piloting this from around May 2018, and it has been working fantastically well. The people were excited, and people gave out a wish list of more content they would like. And as usual, I keep pushing this to Lesley, and Lesley pushes that to her team and volunteers and trustees, and tells them, hey, this is the demand from Kenya, we need more content here. And so we've been developing more content, and we were hopeful that now the next set of content would be a lot huge and wider, covering several areas and disciplines. And then COVID happened. But ideally, what I can say is the content were absolutely good. The people were excited. I can tell you of one that was very popular. That is on first aid. That even the local teachers were so much excited to take. We have so many examples of primary school teachers who came, took up the course, and then went to train their students in classes, the practicalities of simple first aids, small accidents, burns, etc. that may happen in everyday life, and how people and how students and can help manage that in their communities. So we are talking about practical issues, practical daily life issues that affect the people, and we're empowering them with skills that they need to run businesses, to run their farms, etc. Now the challenge at the moment is COVID-19, when we were hoping to, grow to scale and expand.
I know, we were all ready. We've got funding. We actually have funding to deploy another 6 or 8 capsules and tablets. But the problem is, in order to be able to do that, then people have to be able to go to the community centres. And, then if you've got community centres, you've got the problem with the social distancing. And we also have to get the local community involved, and the local elders and chiefs and the local community members from the council, and the local also from the local church, because it's important to have, the way that the culture works. It's important to have not just local government, but also culturally the local chiefs and also the ministers of the churches, because that's the way their culture works. But to have all these people together in the one place at the moment, it's just not going to happen, unfortunately.
No. So what was the response with the people who took the learning? Did they feel they were learning things or skills that they could use?
Yes, absolutely. And we also ran kind of a survey and questionnaires, asking people what they thought this content, how can we improve this, and etc. So we have stories from the communities here of people that have taken up some of these courses, and they have gone to improve either their businesses or even they have landed new jobs. And part of our capacity building skills that we provide also is free computer literacy skills. So we also train the locals and give them free digital skills, so that at least they are able to interact a lot more well with technology, be it their phones or for those who have laptops and computers, how they can be able to interact with this, even in their places of work. So a lot of progress has happened as a result of this, and people have given a lot of feedback, which part of it we have documented in terms of videos, also what shared with Learn Appeal.
One elderly gentleman went into the local centre, and he immediately stopped doing what he was doing because he was using his own phone. And Eric went up to him and said, "Why are you not doing anything anymore?" And he said, No, I'll need to wait for one of your tablets because it will be too expensive on my phone. And so Eric explained to him that no, there was no charge, and he could look on all his data to make sure. And he then said, it's true. This is the magic miracle box. This is what everybody has been telling me about. It's true. Is that not right, Eric?
Yeah, that's true. When you're watching a video here in Kenya, it's very expensive to download a video. And even if we are not talking about money and expense, in a rural setting, the bandwidth to watch a video is also a problem. You might click on a video and it takes a long time to download or even play. So when when he got into the content and he found that there were videos and he could play on a video, and it was like virtual reality. It was like he was online. He thought he was online. He thought he was watching something on YouTube. So he said, no, this is very expensive. I cannot afford to watch this. I told him, no, I mean, it's free. You're not paying anything to view and watch this content. But he said, it seems like it's an online content because I'm able to navigate.
Yep.
I'm able to click and say next. I'm able to watch a video. I'm able to take a quiz. I'm able to interact. I'm able to get into learning management system and interact with other students. So he thought it's an online learning system. I told him no, it's actually offline. He was so amazed. He thought it was magic.
It's still magic. It's local magic, so you don't have to worry about those data
That's
charges.
Okay. That's okay. We don't mind that. We don't mind that, and it's the fact that the community are so positive about it, and Eric will be able to tell you. I think the system has broken down once, hasn't it, Eric? In the 2 years, it's broken down once. Only once.
Yep.
That's not bad.
So it's very strong.
And that was
very, very
that
stable.
was an IP. It was an IP issue. It was the wrong IP address.
Oh, so it didn't really break down. It just the software changed a bit. That's pretty good.
Yes. Yeah. It just works. And say we've now got loads more courses and we've got more volunteers. And what we want to do, one of the things Eric and I have actually been talking about is, two things we've been talking about, which we maybe should share, is how we can create courses that will help people through COVID. Because in Kenya, for example, the schools are not going to be open until next January. So we think we're bad in the UK with schools having been closed for 5 months. In Kenya, the schools are not going to be open until January. So that's one thing that Eric and I are talking about. And the other thing is not really to do with the capsule. It's to do with children building relationships with other children. So what Eric and I, and maybe people in the States would actually want to get involved with this too, what Eric and I are talking about is children possibly becoming pen friends if they're able to write to each other. Or if they can't, if they're too young, then we can exchange videos. So children in different communities, in different cultures, can actually learn what it's like in a different culture.
That's good.
And we think that would actually be a fantastic form of learning for both the children in the Western culture and also the children in the Kenyan, in the African culture.
That's interesting. And
absolutely. And Rick, one other thing is the education system is it's not really different. We've borrowed a lot from the United Kingdom system of learning, and there are a lot of similarities as well from the US system. So if these kids are able to interact, even say on science and mathematics, and or English or such kind of thing, they're able to, I'm sure they're able to learn from each other things beyond just culture and way of life in their communities, but actual academic issues, because they're largely more or less the same. Yeah.
Well, they say while the internet has a lot of bad things, there's a awful lot of good things. And maybe one day the internet will save the world from itself. Wouldn't that be interesting? Because you can't hide everything that countries are doing, whether it's good or bad, especially the bad. A lot of people hide everything. But it keeps people informed. It gives a lot of people hope that they can communicate with other people and maybe get out of situations that they're in and everything else. So, and again, we share culture, we share language, we share experiences.
Yeah.
That's all good.
And we thought,
absolutely
particularly with all this Black Lives Matters that's going on at the moment, what better way to actually make a difference and make a change than to encourage children to interact and engage with each other so they can learn from each other, and not just learn, as Eric says, not just learn about the cultures, but actually learn, my goodness, we're doing the same thing at school as you're doing. Something as basic.
Yeah, but we're doing some very strange things at school right now that have nothing to do with anything. It's just gone crazy. We're kind of having, I don't know. It's just, racism is not a good thing, but it's blown a lot out of proportion of what really is going on. Most people get along, but you wouldn't know that if you watched the news. Everybody hates each other according to the news. That's not reality. But anyway, that's another topic, and
it's another topic.
It's another.
But we
topic.
just think that actually encouraging children to share videos and to maybe write to each other would be a way, and not even necessarily do it through the internet, because you can share videos via WhatsApp. We don't have to post things up, so we can make it as cheap as we possibly can. And then if we can actually encourage children to learn from each other, they'll probably find out that they've actually got an awful lot more in common than they have differences.
Well, they also said that children around the world are really colorblind. They don't care until they get older and somebody teaches them, well, that person's bad or this person's bad, and then you start the problems. But children love everybody. You notice, have you noticed this, Eric? Wherever you are, when a child sees another child, they know. They don't care what color, what race, what religion. It's kids being kids. And immediately, I remember when I was a kid traveling, in airports a lot. My dad was with the airlines, so even very young, they would, we'd go to an airport, we're in transit, and as a kid, you just go, oh, there's another kid over there, and another kid. They could be any color. It didn't matter. It was just a kid, somebody my age, and within minutes, you're playing around the waiting areas. And the parents are happy because the kids aren't causing any problems. They're talking to each other or playing or running around without creating issues. But, that kids are kids. They don't have that prejudice built in. That's not something we're born with. Unfortunately, we're taught the bad part of that. And so if we can teach kids better from the beginning and let kids just be kids, most kids will be pretty happy being kids and not having issues with.
That's what Eric and I are hoping.
Yeah.
So I'm working with my daughter, who is a primary school teacher, and we're also going to be working with another Learn Appeal trustee, Jenny Dixon, who has been out to a school in Malawi. So we're not just talking about necessarily schools in the UK mixing with schools with Kenya. It means we can also get the school in Malawi to communicate with the school in Kenya, because Malawi and Kenya are actually quite far apart.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe even the cultures may not be the same. So there's also something that students in Kenya would learn from students in Malawi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And by the way, for those who don't know, Eric is about 9,000 miles from where we are in California. And we're getting a pretty good connection today. It's not bad at all. But that's a lot. And I think you're about 6,000 miles from Lesley? It's a long flight to get. I think it's a long flight to get to where you are.
I don't know. Eric has done it. Eric came to see me, and I picked him up from the airport, and then he actually came to stay at my house. And my son took him along the Ridgeway to walk where you've walked, Rick.
Yep.
To walk along the road that goes back 5,000 BC.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So Eric has done it too.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
was
a
a
lot of fun.
long journey. It was a long journey.
Yeah.
15. You know, I had to take a bus to Nairobi. Then from Nairobi to Qatar. It's about 7 or so hours, 7.5 hours.
Yeah.
And from Qatar to Heathrow, London is another 8 hours or so.
It's a long
So
flight.
it's about
Yeah.
it's a yeah
It was
It's
a
a long way.
long journey. It
yeah.
was a long journey.
But
But
it
it
was-
was but it was
it was
lovely. It was lovely
is.
to have him stay and not just go to the event in London, but actually come and spend time in my house so that he could actually see what life was like in the UK. So to come to the house, to then go and spend time in London, to meet my family, to go to the pub in, down in the village. So it was nice for him. And he also, on his phone, we managed to set him up so he was actually able to control my television from his phone. And I had to go upstairs and say, Eric, you're switching on and off the television. Please stop.
That's funny.
I actually didn't know. It was accidental, so I was surprised.
That's fun. Well, we are actually out of time. That was fun. It was fun seeing you here again, Eric. Well, here for the first time at least, but seeing you again, and we hope maybe we'll have you come on again next time and talk a little bit more about what you're doing with education, everything else. I think we had a lot of fun kind of introducing Eric and talking about experiences with him, and it's a lot of fun. Eric's a great guy, and he's very easy and fun to work with as well. And I told Eric after we left England the last time, because he immediately sent me a Facebook Messenger, and we talked via Facebook for a while. And Eric's one of those people that after we met, it felt like we knew each other for years, for a long time. And that's one of the beauties when you meet people and you just get along and you just go, it seems like you're an old friend. Don't we know each other from before somewhere? And that's always such a pleasure. And that's how friendships are made, which is great. Just people meeting people. And it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
So Eric, we appreciate you coming on the show. Do you have any final comments? Anything you want to say?
Thank you so much, Rick, for hosting me today. If we have time next time, we can also talk about the prospects of post COVID-19 of about e-learning in Kenya and Africa. What does it look like? I was speaking to one of the local universities here, and they were telling me that they are even planning to make all their courses online post-COVID.
Interesting.
Possibly
Okay.
by the end of the year, everything will be virtual. There will be very limited, physical campus education. So COVID has come as a disruption. There's a disruption in education. There's a disruption in access to knowledge.
Yep.
But this poses a fundamental challenge because a lot more people are still facing infrastructural challenges, are still facing challenges to access to the internet. And so the digital divide is likely to increase. And that means leaving a huge chunk of the African population behind. So those who have the money wherewithal can be able to purchase the internet, take their courses online, whatever courses they want, apply for jobs online because they have good access to the internet, they are able to work.
Yeah.
But what about those ones that do not have this access? What are we going to do with them? Are we going to leave them behind, or are we going to become innovative, think about them, and come up with solutions to make sure that they also grow and develop alongside the rest of the population?
That would be
Thank you
great.
so much.
Great. Thanks, Eric. And Lesley, we will see you next week. And if you're watching the show and if you want to get a hold of Eric, we'll have information below where you can contact him. And again, Eric, we wish you and the people there all the luck in the world, not luck, I don't really believe in luck, all the success in the world. Because success you can get, luck, and we will see you folks next week on eLearnChat. Thank you much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.